So in today's class, we're going to be talking about balance, standing postures, standing stability, and lower body strength. We're going to be focusing primarily on Warrior 1, Warrior 3, and standing big toe pose. To begin today's class, we are going to stand up. We're going to start very simply with some body weight squats, but what I want you to make sure you're doing is you're spreading your toes apart as much as you can and digging them into the floor. Now, just in our standing posture here, I want you to feel into the four corners of your foot. You've got one corner just under your big toe, you've got another corner just under your pinky toe, and two on either sides of the heel. And as you shift your weight around on your feet, you should be able to feel all four corners of the foot rooted down into the floor very firmly, okay? You also have your toes dug in. And if you can feel all four of those corners, if you can feel all five of your toes, then you know that you have a stable base to balance off of. This is going to be really crucial as we move into some of the later postures in the class. So with your toes spread wide, feeling all four corners of the feet, we're going to inhale as we squat down, just as low as we feel comfortable with, and exhale as we squat up. Go for 5 more. Stand as tall as you can at the top. Last one. Very good. Changing our position here, we're going to step our right foot forward and our left foot backward a considerable distance. If you are on a yoga mat like me, you won't have your legs completely split to either side of the mat. You should still have a little bit of space in front of you and a little bit of space behind you, but don't go too narrow. That's going to make these lunges way too easy, and it's going to set you out of a proper alignment. So with your feet separated somewhere between 3 and 4 feet apart, we're going to lower ourselves straight down to the ground, tapping our back knee to the floor, and then coming straight back up. We're going to do 10 of these on either side. Inhaling down, exhaling up. Inhaling down, exhaling up. Find a fixed point on the floor in front of you for balance and root your gaze there. That's going to help quite a bit as well. Remember to stay firmly planted through all 4 corners of the feet on your front foot and all 5 toes on both feet. Great job. Step forward to standing, and then step your right foot backwards to set up for your lunges on the opposite side, going for 10 reps. Do not put your hands on the front thigh. Make sure you're doing all the effort with your legs. Very good. Step your right foot forward to standing. And we're going to start to mobilize our wrists. We are going to use a couple of our animal movements in our warm-up today. So slowly come down into a 90-90 position. You've got one leg internally rotated, one leg externally rotated. And from here, we'll start to mobilize the wrists. Clasping the hands together, rolling the wrists around one another. Breathing deeply. You can switch directions. We're just going to go through a few light wrist mobilizations today. We're not going to be doing anything too challenging on the upper body, so we don't need to spend a ton of time here. Make sure you're always sinking into that internally rotated hip in your 90-90 position as well. And from here, we're going to windshield wiper the knees to the other side. And then we're going to continue with our second wrist mobilization. Pressing the wrists together firmly, fingers spread wide, tucking the thumbs, and rolling the wrists around one another. Making sure the smallest portion of our wrist never separates from one another. In fact, This happens to me virtually every class. I end up taking my bracelets off so that I can get more range of motion and they're not getting in my way. Make sure those fingers stay spread nice and wide. Let's do one more in this direction. And then flip, going the opposite direction now. So we start by tucking the pinkies up, sides of the wrist come together, backs of the wrist come together, feed the hands down, insides of the wrist come together, and then starting position, and repeat. Very good. Place your hands on the floor behind you, windshield wiper the knees back and forth just a few times. And now we're going to set up for our final wrist mobilization. We're going to set up in a tabletop position with our fingers spread nice and wide, index fingers pointing straight ahead. And we're just going to rock back and forth over the hands. Make sure your toes are tucked, so as you send your weight back, you're getting a light stretch through the bottoms of the feet and the toes. And as you send your weight forward and your shoulders cross the line of your fingertips, you're getting a nice stretch through the hands, through the wrists, through the forearms. Keep the inner elbow pointing straight ahead, so we're externally rotating the arms, corkscrewing those hands into the floor. Always breathing. Now turn your fingers to point out towards the sides, rock side to side. And then turn your fingers to point all the way backwards and create small circles to start. And then slowly make those circles bigger as you rotate. Stop just before the heel of your hand leaves the ground or leaves your mat. That means you're getting just about your maximum stretch. And now you can switch directions, creating circles the other way. Keep those fingers spread wide. Very good. Untuck your toes, sit back towards your heels, shake your hands out. Use a wrist relief. Today, I think I'm going to use my thumb and index wrist relief. Take my thumb and my index, I wrap them around my wrist. I squeeze the wrist joint to create a small space, and then I make little circular movements, very, very subtle, with my partially closed hand. Same thing on the other side. Index and thumb wrapping around the wrist, and then I squeeze, create little circles to bring some relief to those wrist joints. We're going to set straight back up in our beast posture now. So our knees should be rested somewhere underneath of the belly button. Our toes are tucked, fingers spread wide, arms externally rotated, that pit of the elbow pointing straight ahead. Take an inhale, roll the hips forward, pinch the shoulder blades together, gaze up. Take an exhale, roll the hips backwards, spread the shoulder blades apart and gaze down. And then find halfway between those two positions. Okay, so you get a nice straight spine, a nice flat back. Okay, once you find that position, hover your knees over the floor. And we're going to begin with our beast activations. Number 1, right foot. Lifts from the floor, holding, finding balance. Place that foot back down. 2, lifting the left foot, placing it back down. 3, lifting the right hand, thinking about shrugging the shoulder back or pinching it back, placing it down. 4, left hand, shrugging that shoulder back, placing that hand down. 5, here's where the balance challenge comes in. Right hand and left foot lift. Use your fingertips for balance if you need to. Hold, place them back down. 6, left hand, right foot. Lift and hold and place them back down. Place your knees on the floor, take 3 deep breaths. Great work. Now from here, we're gonna pick our knees up and push our hips up as high as we can into the air. And then I also want you to lift your heels off the floor as high as you can. Something like a modified downward facing dog position. Now I'm gonna give you another balance challenge here. Kick your right heel in towards your bum. Keep your knee in towards your chest. Hold here, find balance. If this is already a challenge for you, you can just hold this posture. If you want to really challenge your balance, slowly shift some weight off your left hand. Lift onto the tips of the fingers. And then maybe your pinky finger lifts, ring finger, middle finger, thumb, and then all your fingers lift from the floor. You might even slowly, if you can hold the balance, bring that arm by your side and point your hand up towards the ceiling. Hold, find balance, root your gaze on a fixed point on the floor, somewhere between your planted hand and foot, and then slowly bring both of those limbs back down to the floor. We're going to repeat the same thing on the opposite side. Kicking the left heel into the bum, keeping the left knee into the chest. Slowly shift weight off your right hand, lifting onto the fingertips. And then maybe your pinky finger lifts, maybe the ring finger, maybe the middle, maybe the thumb, and maybe finally the index finger lifts as well. Bring your elbow back and see if you can point that hand, those fingers up towards the ceiling behind you. Hold, find balance, root your gaze, and then bring both limbs back down to the floor. Really, really good, okay? So we're starting to work on our proprioception, our balance, our awareness of our body in space, and our control of little minute adjustments in position with both our hands and our feet on the floor. Now from here on out, we're going to be focusing primarily on standing postures, those ones I mentioned earlier, Warrior 1, Warrior 3, and standing big toe pose and variations of it. So we're going to try and take that same awareness of our body in space that we're practicing a little bit away from the floor. Okay, this is going to be a bit more difficult. That's why we practice all these animal movements with our hands and our feet on the ground. More points of contact for our brain to develop an awareness of our body in space. And that same awareness is very helpful when we're trying to practice or develop a better capacity for balance. Once we bring our hands off of the floor, this may become a little bit more difficult, okay? So let's come to a standing position. We're going to start to work on Warrior 1 first. And we're just going to break these postures down, feel what they're like, to practice them with good alignment, and then we will put them together into our primal salutations. So if you are in a yoga mat, you want to be standing at least 1 foot distance back, maybe a little bit more than that. Feet are separated about hip distance, okay? And we're going to start by stepping our left foot back a considerable distance, okay? About the same distance you had stepped for your static lunges in our warm-up, but this time, maybe just a little bit more, okay? This should be somewhere between 3 and 4 feet apart, okay? I want you to bend your front leg until your knee stacks over your ankle. If you have nice flexible hips, you can gently slide your left foot back a little bit as you sink into your Warrior 1 posture. Now, traditionally, Warrior 1 is taught with the heel planted on the back foot. We are going to be practicing this today with the heel lifted, more like a high lunge position, okay? Now, our hips should be squared off towards the front edge of our mat. So we're not opening our hips to the side. We're keeping them pointed straight ahead, okay? Make sure you've got an awareness of all 5 toes on both feet and all 4 corners of the foot on your front foot, okay? If everything feels good here, slowly bring your hands together in front of you and take a deep inhale as you raise those arms up overhead, okay? We're trying to get a nice straight line from the hips all the way to the fingertips, all right? You can even interlace the fingers to keep those arms a little bit higher overhead if you struggle with your shoulder mobility, okay? Take some deep breaths in your Warrior 1 posture. Final tip, Make sure you're squeezing the glute on your left leg or your back leg. That's going to help open up that hip flexor and get a deeper stretch in this posture. Focus on your strength and your stability here. And if you find it easy to balance, you can challenge yourself by gazing upward towards your thumbs. Very good. On an exhalation, slowly bring your hands down to the floor next to your front foot or on the outsides of your front foot. Push the floor away and then step that right foot back to plank. Take an inhale. Exhale. Step your left foot forward between the hands. Keep that glute squeezed on your right leg. Inhale, lift up. Warrior one again on the opposite side. Stay nice and low in the hips, but find that nice straight line all the way up to the fingertips. Take some deep breaths here. Feel your strength, feel your stability, find your balance. And if you'd like to challenge yourself, you can slowly gaze up towards the thumbs. Shift your gaze ever so slowly so that you can feel every little adjustment your body has to make as you change positions and as you shift your gaze. Breathe. Very good. On an exhale, bring your hands down to the floor to meeting on the outsides of your front foot. Step your left foot back to plank. Exhale, step your right foot forward. We're going to start to practice warrior three. So from here, shift your weight forward so that most of your weight is now on your right foot. And then slowly rise up, lifting your back foot from the floor. Still some weight on some fingertips on both hands. And if you feel okay here, you can slowly lift your fingertips from the floor and place your hands together in prayer just in front of the chest. We're looking for a straight line from the top of the head to the heel of your back foot. Your spine, your hip, your leg, create a nice straight line. And we're balancing on just the right foot here. You can have a bend in the right leg if it feels better. If you'd like to challenge yourself, see if you can straighten that right leg completely. That will require a little bit more hamstring flexibility. Very good. From here, place those hands back down. Place your left foot down on the back of the mat. Inhale, step your right foot back. Exhale, step your left foot forward. Same thing, opposite side. Shift your weight over that front foot. Lift your back foot from the floor. Lift onto the fingertips and slowly rise up into your warrior three posture. Now in this posture, I should have mentioned on the first side, what we're trying to do here is make sure our hips are again squared off towards the floor. So try not to open your hips towards the side of the room. Try to keep both sides of your hips flat and parallel to the floor, okay? Squeeze your glute to lift that back leg nice and high. Hold here, take some deep breaths. We should be rooting our gaze on a point on the floor just below our face. On an exhale, bring your hands down, bring your back foot down. Inhale, step your left foot back to plank. Exhale, step your right foot forward. Now we're going to be working on our standing big toe pose. So slowly shift your weight forward and stand tall. Bring your left knee up in towards your chest. Okay? Now just holding here in this posture may be a balance challenge. Okay? There's a few variations of our standing big toe. We are going to start by hooking the big toe with our peace fingers. So take your index and your middle finger, hook them around your left toe. Keep your gaze fixed on a point on the floor about 5 to 6 feet in front of you. And if possible, extend your left leg straight out ahead of you. Try not to lose the integrity of your spine. Stay standing nice and tall. Hold your right arm out to your side as a counterbalance. Take some deep breaths here. If holding this posture is a serious challenge, you can keep a bend in the knee for now. But your goal is to get that leg straight sometime in the near future as you continue practicing this posture. If you want to challenge your balance, you can slowly open your leg up towards the side of the room. If you want to challenge even further, you can shift your gaze over the right shoulder, shifting that gaze ever so slowly. Slowly bring your gaze back. Slowly bring your leg back in front. Now, release the hook on your big toe and hold that leg as high as you can. Hold, 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 hold. A slight bend in the knee is okay if necessary. And then gently bend that leg completely and place that foot back down on the floor. Very good. Let's try that again on the opposite side. Root down through your left foot. Dig those toes into the ground. Find all four corners of the foot. And gently lift your right knee up towards your chest. Root your gaze on a fixed point on the floor and use your peace fingers to hook your right big toe. If possible, kick that leg straight. Hold, hold, hold. Find your balance. And if you'd like to challenge yourself further, you can open that leg up towards the side, trying to keep your hips squared off towards the front edge of your mat. If you'd like to go even further, you can gently, very slowly, shift your gaze over the left shoulder. Bring your gaze back. Bring your leg back, very slow. Release your fingers and hold that leg high. Hold, 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 hold. And then gently bend the knee and bring that foot back down to the floor. Very good. Hips, especially hip flexors, should be very active right now. Let's stand with a nice wide stance. Root those toes. Root down through all four corners of the foot. Interlace your fingers. Take some inhales and exhales as you swing back and forth. Just allowing the hips to rest a little bit, allowing the spine to reset a little bit. And come down into whatever seated position you choose for a moment. So what we're going to be doing now is taking those three postures and building them in to our primal salutations, okay? Now, all you need to do is listen very carefully for the cues, okay? Otherwise, try to remember those little tips that we practice in all three of those postures and try to bring that same awareness, that same focus to our primal salutations today, okay? We're going to begin standing a little bit more than 1 foot distance back from the top edge of our mat with our feet about hip distance apart. Take an inhale as you raise your arms overhead. Interlace your fingers, squeeze your glutes, push your hips forward gently, and gaze upward. Exhale, hinge slightly from your hips and sink them down into your squat, just as low as you feel comfortable with before bringing your fingertips to the floor. Inhale, raise your hips high. Keep your spine straight, keep your legs straight. Bring your hands to your shins if necessary to do so. It takes time to develop the flexibility to keep a straight back and straight legs with fingertips on the floor. So lift up halfway if you need to. Lengthen the spine. Take an inhale. Exhale, reach your full palm for the floor, bending the knees if necessary to do so, and then step both feet back to plank. Hold your breath out. Slowly lower yourself down. Squeeze your glutes, pinch your shoulder blades together. Inhale, cobra. Exhale, drop your chest down. Push your hips back and then up into the air, downward facing dog. Hold here for 5 deep breaths. Very good. Take an inhale, lift your right leg high, and then exhale, bring your right knee forward into the chest, and then send your weight over your hands. Place that right foot between the hands. Inhale, rise up. Warrior 1. Sink down into your warrior posture. Feel your strength, feel your stability. Squeeze the glute on your left leg so that you can get down nice and deep and open up that hip flexor. If you want to challenge your balance, slowly shift your gaze upward. Breathe. Very good. On an exhale, slowly bring your fingertips to the floor just in front of your right foot. Shift your weight into that right foot and then slowly rise up. Warrior 3. Hands to prayer in front of the chest. Hold here for some deep breaths. Root your gaze on a point on the floor just below your face. Keep those hips squared downward to the floor. Take an inhale. As you exhale, drive that right knee forward and upward, and then kick your left leg straight, standing big toe. No hook, just using the strength of our hip flexors this time. Very good. Slowly bend that leg, step it back to your lunge position. Bring your hands to the floor. Inhale as you step back to plank, bend your knees, and then exhale, hop forward, landing as softly as you can. Lower your hips down to your squat. Inhale, interlace your fingers, arms overhead, stand tall. That was 1 half round. We're going to do 4 half rounds total to hit both sides equally. Exhale, squat. Bring your fingertips to the floor. Inhale, hips high. Exhale, full forward fold. And then hop your feet back to plank. Slowly lower yourself down as you hold your breath out. Inhale, cobra, or you may come up to a full upward facing dog if you'd like. Exhale, chin to chest. Move like a wave back to downward facing dog. Hold for 5 deep breaths. Inhale, left leg up. Exhale, left knee to chest. Shift your weight forward. Place that left foot between the hands. And then inhale, rise up. Warrior 1. Sink in. Square your hips off to the front edge of your mat. If you'd like to challenge your balance, slowly shift your gaze up. Breathe. On an exhale, bring your hands or your fingertips down to the floor just in front of that left foot. Shift your weight forward, rise up, warrior 3. Bring your hands to prayer in front of the chest. Inhale. On an exhale, bring your right knee forward and then kick that leg straight, standing big toe. No hook. Breathe. Slowly bend that leg. Step back to your lunge position. Bring your hands to the floor. Step your left foot back. Inhale, bend your knees. Exhale, hop forward, landing as softly as you can. Lower your hips to the floor. Inhale, interlace your fingers. Raise your arms overhead. Stand tall. Very good. Next round. Exhale, hinge from the hips. Sink down into your squat. Fingertips to the floor. Inhale, hips high, back straight, legs straight. Exhale, full forward fold. See if you can hop or float your feet back to plank. Hold your breath as you slowly lower down. Inhale, cobra or upward facing dog. Exhale, chin to chest. Move like a wave to downward facing dog. Hold here for 5 deep breaths. Inhale, right leg up. Exhale, right leg forward. Place that foot between the hands. Inhale, rise up. Warrior one. Exhale, bring your hands down. If you'd like, you can keep your hands in prayer in front of the chest. Shift your weight forward and then come to your warrior three pose. Breathe. Exhale, bend your left leg and bring that knee forward in front of the chest. Kick it straight, hold. Breathe. Bend the knee, step that leg back to your lunge, bring your hands to the floor. Inhale, step your right foot back, bend your knees, and then hop forward, landing as softly as you can. Lower your hips to the floor, interlace your fingers, inhale, arms overhead, stand tall. Final half round. Exhale, sinking into that squat. Bring your fingertips to the floor. Inhale, hips high, legs straight, spine straight. Exhale, full forward fold this time. Step hop or float your feet back to plank and then slowly lower yourself down. Inhale, cobra or upward facing dog. Exhale, moving like a wave to downward facing dog, holding for 5 deep breaths. Inhale, lift your left leg. Exhale, left knee to chest. Place the left foot between the hands. And then inhale, rise up. Warrior one. Breathe. If you want to challenge your balance, slowly shift your gaze up. On an exhale, bring your hands down to prayer or to the floor. Shift your weight forward. Lift up to warrior three. Breathe. Remember those 4 corners of the feet and all 5 toes. On an exhale, drive your right knee forward, stand tall, and then kick that leg straight, standing big toe. Breathe. Gently bend that leg, step it back to plank. Bring your hands to the floor. Inhale, left foot back, bend the knees. Exhale, hop forward, landing as softly as you can. Lower your hips down. Inhale, interlace your fingers, arms overhead, stand tall. Exhale, bring your arms down by your side and simply breathe and relax. We're going to use one final standing posture. This one should feel relatively easy after all of the balance practice we have been putting in. Bring your right foot directly underneath of you, right in your center line. Put all your weight in that foot. Feel all 5 toes, all 4 corners of the foot. And then gently lift your left foot. Bring your knee out to the side. Catch the ankle. And see if you can place that foot on the inner right thigh. If you can't get your foot all the way up there, placing your foot on the inner right calf muscle is completely okay as well. Whatever variation you're taking, make sure you're standing as tall as you can. Bring your hands together in prayer in front of the chest and hold your tree pose for a few deep breaths. Squeeze your hips, squeeze your thighs, root down through all 5 toes, all 4 corners of the feet, and find a fixed point on the floor for balance. If you'd like to challenge yourself, you can slowly bring your arms up overhead with hands loose, a slight bend in the elbow, and you can sway your arms back and forth. Noticing how the body makes minor adjustments, almost automatically, to counterbalance. Balance is not about staying rigid and static. It's actually about subtle, consistent, tiny movements that keep us ebbing and flowing and continue to keep us from falling. It's an illusion that balance is about being perfectly still. It's actually about constantly moving in very subtle ways. Now you can release your left foot from the thigh, place it back down on the floor, and we're going to try our tree pose on the opposite side. Root down through your 5 left toes and all 4 corners of your left foot. Slowly lift your right foot from the floor, catch the ankle, bring that foot to the inner thigh or the inner calf, and then bring your hands together in prayer just in front of the chest. Take some deep breaths. Root your gaze on a fixed point on the floor. If you'd like to challenge yourself, you can slowly raise your arms up overhead, soft hands, soft bend in the elbow, and sway your arms back and forth, just like branches of a tree waving in the wind. Pay close attention to those subtle adjustments, those subtle changes in alignment that keep you balanced and keep you standing. Slowly bring your hands back to prayer. Release your right foot and gently squat down towards the floor. Lay down on your back with your knees bent and your feet flat on the floor. Drive your elbows into the ground and slowly exhale as you squeeze your glutes and press them up as high as you can into the air. Get your hands underneath your hips, underneath your low back, helping to prop your hips up into the air, and take some deep breaths in your bridge pose. Slowly release your hands. Bring your hips down to the floor. Bring your arms out wide in a T shape. Your feet out to the edges of your mat, or just a little bit wider than hip distance. And then gently windshield and wiper those knees back and forth. Slow, gentle movements, not too quick, but keeping it dynamic. Drop both your knees to the right side and then cross your right ankle over your left knee. Stay in this posture for 4 or 5 deep breaths. Uncross the ankle, windshield wiper your knees to the left side now, and cross your left ankle over your right knee. Hold here for 4 or 5 deep breaths. Gently uncross that ankle. Bring both knees to point up to the sky. Extend your legs straight. Bring your arms by your side and relax. Take some deep breaths, feeling your belly rise as you inhale and fall as you exhale. Feeling your belly rise, feeling your belly fall. Allow all your muscles to relax and your whole body to melt into the floor. If there's some gentle noises in the room, like there is for me, simply use them as the object of your meditation. Pay close attention to sensations, sounds, smells. Just notice your experience here and now. Ask yourself, what sound will come next? What sensation will come next? What experience will come next? Or even what thought will come next? How long will it last? Just be curious. Don't cling to any particular pleasurable experience or push any particularly unpleasurable experience away. Simply sit and notice the quality of this present moment. Notice what it contains. Notice the space within it. And simply breathe. Slowly bring life back into your body. Wiggle your fingers and toes. Reach over your arms over your head. Get a big stretch. Sigh all the air out your mouth. When you're ready, you can roll onto whatever side you choose. And slowly come up to a seated position. I trust you enjoyed today's class. I trust that you found some balance, that you found some little tips and tricks and pointers that help you root into your body, into the floor, to stabilize yourself and to go with the ebb and the flow. That is the key to balance. It's not about being perfectly still or rigid like a stone. It's actually about going with the flow, going with little minute changes and being okay with them and just observing what's happening. Again, I trust you enjoyed today's class. Namaste.